It's week 3 in our year of stitches, and this week we're doing back stitch, another classic stitch. Now in the very first video, I said we would do all our stitches with 3 strands unless I suggest otherwise. Now for back stitch, this is when I suggest you work with more strands. I personally really like a back stitch when it's done with all 6 strands of thread. I think back stitch is a stitch that really benefits from thick strands. So even though I'm working with all 6, you'll notice I still separate all my strands of thread. And that is because it gives me a much smoother texture of the thread when I have them all separated rather than any bundling together. It also makes the thread sit much thicker than if it was just alone. So I've got my 6 strands, and this time I'm threading into my large eye needle. You'll really struggle to thread the 6 strands through a small needle, and I'm going to thread up. Now again, if you would like, you can mark onto your fabric now a line you want to follow. Back stitch is classically used as an outline stitch, but I'm going to show you it in a couple of ways here. So first, I'm just going to do an outline. So for back stitch, I bring my needle up to the front of the fabric. I go along the line, a couple of stitches. Then I go forward, almost like I'm doing a running stitch again, but rather than jumping ahead as I would with a running stitch, I'm going to go back on myself into the hole my last stitch came out of. And again, I jump forward and then I go back. And this is why it's called a back stitch. So effectively we go 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Now leave this with me, and I'm going to go this whole line along, stitching the back stitch. So this is a line of back stitch done along here. Now what I want to do is show you how you then can use your back stitch for filling. So as I zoom us in, all I'm going to do is much like I did with the running stitch, I'm going to here bring my needle up alongside and I'm going to continue the back stitch, but I'm going to go right next to where I was, and I'm going to alternate. So it almost looks like bricks. Now again, you see I'm going to use that technique I used before, where I take my needle under and I don't bother taking it to the reverse side of the fabric. So I'm just speeding up my method for my back stitch by going back 1, forward 1, but in 1 movement rather than 2. And you'll always notice very good embroiderers tend never to take their needle to the back of the fabric. They tend to be able to do everything from the surface. And this is purely for efficiency. It makes your stitching twice as fast. But when you do get used to doing it this way, just remember, you can see I'm using my hand on the back of the fabric in order to nudge the fabric into the right place where I want it to be. So you can see I've gone all the way down to the end. Now just imagine if I kept filling an entire shape like this, it almost looks woven. But I've just shown you there how to do a line. So let me show you how to add in a different shape in back stitch. So on the back, I'm just going to bring my needle along to the opposite end just by passing my needle under the thread. So bring myself back up to the front. I'm going to make this into an arrow. So first I'm just going to do some back stitch, outline the shape of my arrow. So 2 stitches on that side, 2 stitches on this side. Now I'm going to make the diagonal of the shape. Now you don't have to ever work in a particular way when you're just filling a shape in. Here you see I'm doing a sort of outline first, and I'm going to go back and fill in. But you don't have to work in that way. You could fill in the shape as you go. And then I'm just going to do some little stitches like I've been doing to fill the shape in. So you see what I've done there is just used a varying array of back stitches to fill the shape in. But I could easily make a very thick line all in back stitch, or I could fill in shapes in back stitch. It's a really simple but incredibly effective stitch. So that is your back stitch.